Alright, guys, so I watched Peacemaker Season 2, Episode 7, and there were twists, there were turns, stuff that I was genuinely, unironically not expecting. So, yeah, let's get into it. So, the episode starts off with examples of not C logos and murals and stuff that Chris missed, which were really obvious. So that was a really funny bit at the beginning of the episode. Another cool thing that we saw at the beginning of the episode was Chris and Harcourt like teaming up to take out the cops that were going to arrest Harcourt at the end of the last episode. So that was actually really awesome. We finally see like Harcourt clearly like realizing, I think, that she wants Chris. She doesn't explicitly say it at any point in this episode, but I think that just based off of her looks and the way that she looks at him, I think that that's kind of what's going on here. We also get more conversations with the two vigilantes. We get the confirmation because this is what everybody's been saying because they know Earth X from the comics, but we actually get Earth X vigilante definitively saying that yes, the Nazis won World War II in this universe, and that's why this is a Nazi universe. We also learned that, minorities are kept in camps and stuff like that. So we don't actually get to see them, though. I don't know if we will. I was saying in the last episode that I was expecting James Gunn to go all out, and I was expecting him to show us some really rough stuff and rough imagery, but it seems like he might not, because I'm not even convinced that we're ever going to go back to Earth X this season, but we'll see. I will say, we go back to the scene of Adebayo running away from all of the neighborhood, and there comes a point where she jumps into the pool in order to allow Judo Master to electrocute all of the citizens. Why did she jump in the pool? That just made no sense. It was literally just an excuse to have a scene, which is admittedly cool, of Judo Master like electrocuting all of them, and it was very fun. But I feel like they could have just staged that better to make it a little more believable. But yeah, it's whatever. But yeah, we also get Adebayo and Judo Master just bonding, which I thought was a lot of fun. They play Scrabble or whatever. And yeah, I really actually liked their dynamic. That's what I will say about Adebayo, and probably her. This also has a lot to do with her actress, where she really does just seem to be able to get along with everybody, and it does make her character just really endearing. I love that she's able to sort of get to the humanity or whatever of Judo Master. So I do wonder if we're going to see Judo Master join Team Peacemaker by the end of the last episode, because we're obviously going to get like a 3-way battle in the finale with Argus and Chris's brother, and then Team Peacemaker. Like, there's going to be like a 3-way battle, so I am going to be curious to see how that all ends up and where Judo Master is going to land when the fighting happens. This is just such a good scene in the way that James Gunn is able to do his like emotional beats, where we have Harcourt riding on the motorcycle with Chris, and she's clearly embracing him both literally and metaphorically, and it's all happening while they're getting chased by the cops. It's just like a perfect way to symbolize what their relationship and what their lives are like and what their relationship would potentially be like. But it's also beautiful in a way. But anyways, it obviously ends with the White Dragon and Chris's brother from this dimension saving them from the cops, which is interesting because we learned in that interrogation with Economos that it is the same in this dimension as in ours, where if the cops were to learn that White Dragon has an interdimensional portal, then they would also be screwed in this universe. So they couldn't let the cops just like capture them, because if they learned, then they would also be screwed. So it creates a lot of interesting situations where everybody's got their own motivations, and it's not all black and white. We also get a cameo from one of the guys from Superman. That is one of the things that I remember thinking about Superman, where it's like James Gunn did a really good job of making really distinct side characters and really distinct henchmen, where it's like, I recognize this guy because he has such a distinct look to him. And it continues to sort of build up the relationship between Rick Flag Sr. and Lex Luthor. And it seems like, because James Gunn has said that Peacemaker is going to set up a Man of Tomorrow, it does seem like Rick Flag Sr. is going to be working with Lex Luthor to a certain extent. in Superman Man of Tomorrow. I don't know if that means that he's going to end up being an antagonist in the movie of some kind. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that's all going to play out. Because yeah, then I mentioned the henchman ends up finding the portal in Vigilante's house. But yeah, by far the biggest twist here is that White Dragon in the Nazi universe is not actually a Nazi. He's actually, I wouldn't say a good guy, but like he is a guy that exists in this Nazi world, disagrees with a lot of it, but doesn't also have like the selflessness to actually fight against it, which adds just another like moral wrinkle to a lot of this. But he's actually pretty reasonable, right? When he learns that Peacemaker killed his doppelganger, he's like, well, I can actually believe that my son, as much as I love him, would be reckless enough to just try to kill his doppelganger. Like, I kind of believe that. He talks down Chris's doppelganger's brother from immediately killing our Peacemaker. And it was like, yeah, I'm actually kind of starting to like this guy. And then the vigilantes just come crashing through the window, and them and Judo Master end up killing the good Red Dragon, or White Dragon? White Dragon, right? Whatever, you know what I mean. And it was actually like a shocking and kind of a tragic twist, because obviously we feel for Chris because he finally had the opportunity to have a dad that doesn't suck. But then it was also like kind of funny in the way that they just like crashed it through the window. So yeah, it was just like and James Gunn legitimately did a really interesting job of like, doing social commentary on our world, where it's like, hey, do you fight back against all of the injustices that happen in your world? And like, and it is interesting because I think James Gunn wrote this stuff like way before a lot of this stuff started going down in our world. And by the way, there was also a line with Adebayo when she was talking with Judo Master where she was like, this world isn't so different from our world. And it's one of those things where I'm sure a lot of people are going to respond to that line being like, oh my god, dude, James Gunn is going way too woke. What do you mean? He's calling our world a Nazi world. And it's just like, there was a point in time where I would have agreed with that sentiment, but it's like, we are literally putting people in camps. Like, that is a thing that we are actively doing in the year of 2025. And the reality is that a lot of us are just kind of standing by and going like, yeah, it is what it is. I don't know too much about this, but the whole Israel and Palestine situation. But if you ask a lot of people, there's like, yeah, there's a genocide going on, and we're kind of just standing by and letting it happen. And so, I I can't help but look at not just the world, because obviously when you look at countries like China and stuff that they do to like, their minority groups there, it's obviously, I don't know. Again, I don't know too much about about this stuff, but I know people have said that you could consider what's going on there a genocide. And there is just no doubt that we are becoming more and more comfortable, more and more desensitized to political violence. We're becoming more and more desensitized to injustices. We're dehumanizing certain groups of people more and more because of rhetoric from the president and from our political commentators. And it's just like, I can't really sit there and look at what James Gunn is saying in this episode and say that he's wrong, because it's not. Obviously, is our world, is our America as bad as this? No. But are we going through the first steps of something like this happening? Yes, we are. So, anyways, you can disagree with me in the comments, but I'm just not wrong. Anyways, we get to the scene where Chris stops them from killing his brother, because obviously his brother attacks them after the vigilantes kill their dad. And yeah, just another example of great acting from John Cena, where he's clearly seeing his brother dying again. He just saw his dad die again when his dad didn't deserve to die. And so he almost like a child, right? Because he's going back to when he was a child and he accidentally killed his brother. He starts just like yelling, almost like throwing a temper tantrum. Really great acting from John Cena, really heartbreaking to see. And we see that Harcourt betrays him. She is going to kill his fake brother. She obviously fails to do so, which now we know that this guy is definitely going to come back. He's going to come into our universe and seek revenge or whatever. And interesting wrinkle as well. Earth X vigilante heroically, because he's a Chad. He's a hero. He stays behind. He like kicks the door closed. So I feel like I don't know how he's gonna get out of that situation, but I guess maybe he does. Hopefully we see him again, or at least hopefully he doesn't die. It's entirely possible that they just never address it, but we'll see. And yeah, the episode ends with Peacemaker turning himself in. He obviously feels guilty because of everything that's happened. He feels like he let his dad die again. He feels like he almost got his brother killed again. It was a really good episode. Can't wait for the finale. And I think this is going to end up being a really solid season of Peacemaker. I will admit, I've been enjoying it all throughout, but I've definitely understood the criticisms of the season starting slow. I definitely feel like we could have gotten the first 4 episodes condensed down to like 2, and I feel like we could have gotten introduced to Earth X way earlier, and we should have gotten more of Peacemaker doing stuff in Earth X. We should have gotten like more of him hanging out with his dad and his brother. But either way, I've personally been enjoying it the entire time. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next video.